Hi, this is Chris from abarbub.com, and stay tuned as we interview Jessica Maria, co-owner of the Hotsy Totsy in Albany, California, and get some words of wisdom from one of the best drink creators in the Bay Area. So we're here with Jessica Maria of the Hotsy Totsy, one of my favorite bars in the Bay Area here. It's in Albany, California, and I remember the first time I came in here, I was just coming in for a beer, and I started looking around at the back bar, and I realized I was in a different place. I was in a place where people really cared about the cocktails and really did it to a very high level. And then when I saw the cocktail book, I realized that this was a very special place. So I'm very happy to be here with Jessica Maria and kind of share some of her experiences and have her tell us a little bit more about her bar program here. So as I said, this is one of my favorite bars in the Bay Area here, and it's because they take really good care of what they do and the cocktails they make here. So maybe you can tell us a little bit about the history of the place and kind of what you guys do for your bar program here.
Sure. The Hotsy Totsy is coming up on its 75th year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
In a town that's only 100 years old, that's pretty noteworthy.
Yeah.
And you know, the 20 years prior to us purchasing the bar, it had kind of a shady past. People were afraid to poke their heads in the door in fear of what they might find inside.
Sure.
And so we knew what we had was just a neighborhood bar.
Okay.
And we wanted to embrace that and kind of give the community something that it was lacking. And to try and project this to be a hip, higher than thou style bar would have been a folly on our part.
Sure.
It's not going to work. We're not in Oakland or Brooklyn.
Sure.
So what we wanted to do is create a cocktail program that was non-intimidating and also build a repertoire with the new guests coming in, having them trust us and taking them slowly on that journey from being a vodka soda drinker to then trying one of our house cocktails and then drinking gin classics and now appreciating the craft. I'm really proud of being able to do that for this community. I've called myself kind of a gateway cocktail bar.
Sure.
And I think that's what we are, and I'm happy to be that. I may never be one of those highfalutin cocktail destination bars that are lauded by Condé Nast.
Right.
But I'll be damned if you find a better and more thoughtful cocktail program.
I couldn't agree with you more. Now, have you noticed transition in your customers? That are starting to appreciate it and kind of being more educated in cocktails?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it comes, you were saying earlier on, like you came in here for a beer and was surprised by what we have on this back bar.
Yeah.
And that happens every day, because this place has such a history. People are like, I've been driving by here for so long, I finally decided to poke my head in.
Yeah.
And I had no idea. And we've gotten such a great loyal following because people feel like we were there first in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So we get a strong loyalty to that, and
that's fantastic.
people always praising myself and my amazing staff,
of course,
for being the ones to turn them on. And now they go to different bars and they're like, how long's that vermouth been on the shelf? That should be refrigerated,
Well, that's a huge step. That's congratulations.
Yeah.
That's huge. Excellent. So your resume reads like a bartender's bucket list. It's pretty cool. So you've worked at some of the best music venues in San Francisco, the Fillmore and the Warfield. You were a bar owner in Thailand, which is just absolutely amazing. And now you're a co-owner of one of the best bars in the Bay Area here, the Hotsy Totsy.
Thanks.
Of course, yeah. Can you share with us one of the best experiences you've had in our industry over the years?
Well, having been in this industry for 25 years,
Holy cow!
I know. I started young. I'm not that old. I'm 65.
Right.
18 of them I've, having been behind the bar, I've had lots of great experiences.
Sure.
And it's hard to just pick one out of that. I've met great people along the way, and I'd have to say for me, it is the process, the creative process, when you open and own a bar.
Sure.
you can't just, jam a great idea into a space and think that it's going to work. You can't just be a great bartender that makes great cocktails and expect people to show up day after day.
Sure.
So it's finding, walking into a space and the excitement and the creative juices that start flowing for me. It's what does this space need? What does this neighborhood need? Or what is this, and having owned 2 bars, one in Thailand and now this one here in Albany, vastly different concepts.
I can imagine,
what I'm doing here would never work there, and vice versa.
Sure.
So I think for me, it's getting in and finding those little touches. What music are you going to play? What's the lighting going to be like? These are things that are so important but are so often overlooked in this industry, and it's one of those things that I take pride in. Like when you don't notice that you're like grooving at the bar, just having a good time, until like 7 songs later, like where is this music coming from?
That's awesome.
I think that's really important to
Absolutely.
have complete control over what everybody's getting.
Absolutely.
Not just what you're imbibing, but what you're seeing, what you're hearing.
Yeah.
It's all part of the experience.
Absolutely. So creating that big picture experience
exactly.
of, what your identity of your bar is.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the harder things to really understand.
It is. And I think people do make mistakes a lot of times, is that they've got a great concept. They've got a great idea for a bar, and they make the mistake of just trying to put that into wherever they can get in.
Absolutely.
And I think that's why some bars fail, because you can't dictate what the crowd wants.
Absolutely.
You can guide them, but you have to be open to what's needed.
Absolutely. So one of the things I think people would really like to know, and some of the questions I've been getting from a lot of new bartenders is there a particular creative process that you have in place whenever you design a new cocktail menu or new cocktails?
Nothing specific. A lot of times, I'll have a name that I like, and then I'll create a cocktail around a name.
Sure.
Sometimes there's just a bottle behind the bar collecting dust, and that I take that as a challenge.
Absolutely,
I move this product.
Right.
So I'll start with like a base spirit or even a modifying spirit. But I think it's important to you have to have the blueprint of all the classics. If you kind of know what ratios work in a cocktail, is it going to be a 3-2-1 kind of thing? And knowing what things taste like. So
Absolutely.
if I'm working with like a hot rye, well, how am I going to balance that out? How am I going to incorporate water or sweetness or fire? So it's just it's having a starting point and then building. For me, I don't like to have a final product in mind. Like I want this to taste like flowers.
Right.
I try and let the cocktail direct itself.
Oh, nice.
And so I'll usually, make 6. Sometimes I get it right the first time, but it's not often.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the more you practice and play around with ingredients, and you're always kind of tasting things on their own, your palate kind of tells you, like, I'm just going to need this much Benedictine, as opposed to that much Benedictine, because of what that's going to bring to the other spirits that are going into this glass.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think one of the most important things for any bartender in general, and correct me if I'm wrong, is just tasting as much product as you can. Not all in one sitting, obviously, but just developing that mental catalog of what things taste like, how they interact with other spirits, and how to substitute out ingredients for other ingredients, I think is something that just comes with experience and dedication.
Absolutely.
So.
Yeah, a lot of times, beginners can just, instead of using whiskey or rye in their Manhattan, make a Manhattan with rum.
Sure.
Or make it with pisco, or something you wouldn't necessarily think of.
Right.
And see what happens.
Yeah.
And then you might taste it and say, like, oh, if I put a little bit of,
X,
green
Y, or
chartreuse
Z,
in here, I've got a great cocktail. And then you just did something based on kind of that blueprint of a Manhattan.
Of course. So. Yeah. Excellent. So do you have a favorite cocktail ingredient, either spirit or otherwise, that you like incorporating in drinks right now?
Sure. Gin. Next question.
Excellent. Well, actually, on that note, what kind of gin? I mean, there's been a big, huge movement in the market now
Sure,
with
yeah.
gin, and we're seeing a lot of new gins out on them,
Yeah.
and a lot of old ones coming back. Now, someone told me that the Tanqueray Malacca, which I've never even heard of before, but was something back in the 90s, 80s, 90s,
Yeah.
is coming back.
It is, yeah.
With that being said, is there a particular style or a particular brand of gin that you're really like super excited about right now, or?
I get excited about gin, and I'm so happy that, we're in the place we are now. When I
Yeah.
opened this bar just 5 years ago, I have 49 and a half gins. I say half because I've got sage up there.
Oh, I see,
That's
yeah.
not really gin. But that's what I do like about gin, is because there's so much variety.
Absolutely.
And it's getting to know each gin on their own, which is a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And then creating cocktails with that, because each gin brings something completely different to a cocktail.
Absolutely,
So,
completely, yeah.
making, one of my house cocktails that may have, a light, kind of a sweet gin, and then take that out and replace it with like a London Dry or a Plymouth style gin.
Sure.
Completely different
Right.
cocktail. So that's why I like playing. That's why I just said gin.
Nice. Do you have a specific gin that you find just absolutely amazing? Like one product, one gin bottle that you
I
just
think
like,
my
wow.
Desert Island gin,
Yeah.
like I can only have one gin for the rest of my life, it would probably be Plymouth.
I couldn't agree with you more. So good.
Yeah.
So you recently competed in La Diablada's Become Shaman drink creation contest, and you actually won in the Bay Area here, which is no easy feat considering there's some amazingly talented mixologists and drink creators here. And then from there you went on to Peru to compete against some of the best bartenders in this country. Can you tell us a little bit about that experience and some of the things you might have learned along the way?
Sure, yeah. Anytime you do a competition, it's nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
And we had the added twist of having to incorporate quinoa into our competition
The
cocktail.
grain.
The grain.
Oh, wow.
And we had a week to figure
No
that
pressure.
out. Yeah, no pressure. And I'm going up against, destination bars,
Yeah.
like the Aviary in Chicago, and Nomad in New York City, and
Right.
the Spare Room at the Roosevelt
Yeah.
in LA. And I was shaking in my boots.
Yeah.
Like, this is this stiff competition.
Of course.
But instead, what I found was, a very talented group of mixologists that are truly versed in hospitality.
Yeah.
And, just lending tools, offering suggestions, helping you set up and break down your station before and after the competition, translating for, those of us that didn't speak Spanish.
Yeah.
Just a great bunch of people. I'm so honored to have been a part of that. It just really took the edge right off.
Right,
We knew,
absolutely.
I think we all also knew that we'd already won. We were here.
Yeah.
We were in Peru together, having this great experience, and so to treat each other in any other way would just
Kind
be
of silly.
foolish. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
absolutely. Very cool.
It was a great experience.
So our audience is made up mostly of bartenders that are trying to make that leap from bartending to more drink creation, bar managers, and lead bartenders. So is there any advice you would give anybody kind of working their way and evolving through the industry that you would like to share with anyone?
Sure. Oh, first and foremost, be the best bartender that you can be.
Yeah.
When I hire new employees here, I always look for a bartender over a mixologist.
Sure.
I can teach people how to make drinks,
Of
but
course.
I look for someone who knows how to move behind a bar.
Yeah.
They can move with another bartender behind the bar. They're moving with purpose.
Right.
I look for someone who is looking up and greeting customers, that kind of owns the room, has
Sure.
a presence in the room.
Yeah.
These are always things you can always be working on and getting better at.
Absolutely.
Minimizing the amount of steps you take
Yeah.
is very important. I think that a good bartender is kind of like a great chess player.
Right.
You're always thinking 3 or 4 steps ahead.
Absolutely.
You've got to be able to multitask.
Yeah.
I can't teach you how to multitask. You've
Yeah.
got to learn that yourself. And so that's something I'm always working on. I know I can be better.
Sure.
And yeah.
Grow as a bartender or drink creator or anything like that.
Exactly.
Perfect.
That's I think the first thing you can do to become better
Absolutely.
is be the best bartender you can be.
Absolutely.
Secondly, I would say technique is something you can be working on. Knowing how and why we do things behind the bar.
Sure.
Why do we shake over stir a cocktail?
Right.
You know, how do you get a cocktail chilled without incorporating too much air?
Yeah.
These are all things that you can be working on. Finding your own personal pizzazz. You know, you should do things with your own kind of personal flair, but know why you're doing it.
Right.
You know, everything from the way you pull a peel off a lemon to rimming a glass. These are all very important things that happen and should just look seamless.
Right.
You know, you should just be moving like a swan behind the bar.
Absolutely.
And that's something else you can work on. Another thing that is going to help you progress is just to know your classics.
Right.
Get those down, because as I said earlier, they are kind of the blueprint for everything else.
Absolutely.
That comes.
Yeah.
So perfect your Sazeracs
Right.
and your old fashions, pre or prohibition.
Right.
Know a great daiquiri, know how to make a great sidecar. These are all super important things that are going to elevate your process in creating.
Absolutely. Now, do you have any personal favorites in the classics that you really kind of test bartenders at?
Oh yeah,
just
a
kind of
Manhattan.
like Manhattan.
Manhattan's the first one, and people have taken some serious liberties with that one.
Now, one of the things that I've found, especially just going out and drinking through San Francisco and some of the other places, is that that is one of the most butchered cocktails.
It is,
and it's
yeah.
so simple.
It is.
You have 3 ingredients, 4 if you count ice or water, but the product that comes out of that can vary from one end of the spectrum completely to the other.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, just like you're saying, classic cocktails that shows that you care and you know your products and you know what you're doing behind the bar.
Exactly. So yeah, that's another one. That is the one I'm going to test you on when you apply for a job here. Is make a Manhattan.
Perfect.
And
it better be damn good.
Yeah.
You better have it right.
Yeah.
Excellent. Now, one of the bartenders I've worked with in the past, who worked in London, he's 30, 40 years worth of bartending experience. He told me that there's 3 cocktails that any great bartender can be judged upon, and one of them was the Manhattan. The other one is margarita, and the last one was an aviation. And I never understood why those 3, but he said historically, when he was tending bar, those were the 3 kind of core cocktails that people were kind of judged by.
Yeah, well, I get it. I've never heard aviation before, but I do understand, because that is such a subtle cocktail that you can blow that with too much maraschino or too much violette.
Absolutely.
And
it's a fine balance.
It is. So I get that. That's a good one. I've done margarita in my past as well as a test for bartenders.
Sure.
Just because you want to see how they shake.
Right.
And do they shake it? Or are they going to build it in a glass? Are they going to ask me all the right questions?
Right.
Do I want it up or over? Salt, no salt.
Yeah.
So those are very
excellent.
Very good. I'm going to adopt the aviation into my test.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, he had a ton of experience, and he taught me a lot about just tending bar and doing the right proper sequence of services and techniques and stuff. And I don't think he tends bar anymore, but I mean, he's kind of one of the people that put me on the path of doing what I do. Just a great mentor in general.
Perfect. So. And finally, I would say homework, and it's fun homework because you're a bartender and you're doing research. So go out and sit at other people's bars.
Absolutely.
Watch bartenders work. Look at their bottles behind the bar. Ask questions.
Yeah.
Try things that you haven't tried. Let a bartender create a cocktail for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And learn from that bartender what questions he or she's asking you.
Right.
I think that's super important. And then also, finding the right words to describe what you're tasting is very important. It'll help you elevate your palate and in your understanding of what your tastes are. And your tastes are going to be different from my tastes.
Yeah.
One of the most used descriptor words in this industry is sweet. I don't like sweet cocktails, or I do like sweet cocktails. If someone tells me they don't like a sweet cocktail, but their favorite drink is a last word, that's a pretty valuable information.
Right.
Because by my account, I think of Last Word as kind of on the sweet side.
Sure.
So now I understand where I can dial in a cocktail for you. You actually
Right.
do like things sweet,
Right.
but not sugary.
Yeah.
Or, they may not want like a flavored vodka cocktail.
Sure. So maybe more balanced. Is
Right.
kind of, yeah.
Right, and understanding, that's another word that gets used a lot. I mean, I use it a lot here too. It's like I don't serve sweet drinks, all my drinks are balanced.
Exactly.
There will be an element of sweetness, but that's because that's what the cocktail needs. And that's one of the great words that is hard to understand,
Right.
what people mean when they say it.
Absolutely. Cool. So any other last words? Any other, no pun intended,
Yeah.
any other words of wisdom or anything you'd like to share with anyone?
Well, just, get out there and do a good job.
Yeah.
Remember that this is the hospitality industry, and that is the most important thing. And mixology is a great part of hospitality that we get to embrace and be a part of right now.
Absolutely.
And if you keep working, you'll get there.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you so much, Jessica.
Thank
and you have a beautiful bar.
Thank you.
And you have an amazing reputation in the city. When I told some of my other bartenders that I was going to be interviewing you, they knew you not only by the Hotsy Totsy, but they knew you by name.
Oh, wow.
So your reputation is sterling in the beverage industry.
Appreciate that.
Thank you for your time. And
Thank you, Chris.
yeah, absolutely. It's a pleasure
It's very nice to
meeting
meet
you.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. So cheers, everyone. Have a great shift. If you enjoyed this video, subscribe to our YouTube channel, find us on Google+, or visit us at abarabove.com.